Hey YouTube, it is Krump. Welcome to another video. Today we are talking about the PlayStation 4 Neo, or the newly called PlayStation 4 Pro. And there's a lot of people online right now very confused about why they would have to have a press conference for something like this, why they would invite people out to New York to unveil pretty much an upgrade system, much like the PS Slim and the Xbox One S. I'm kind of confused too why they would go with this approach and hype something up that really didn't need to be hyped up. And even at the press conference, I felt like there just wasn't a lot of hype and a lot of energy. And Sony honestly just didn't seem like they were behind their product that much, which leads me to believe this was almost like Sony admitting defeat to the Xbox One S. And honestly, I don't really feel like they needed to push it that hard. They didn't really need to be out here in November with a 4K PlayStation, because honestly, the world is not ready for 4K yet. Yeah, 4K is here, 4K is in homes, but a very, very small percentage of homes. And I just tried to actually, now I have pretty good internet. I have pretty decent internet, what an average American would have. And I tried to load a 4K video. I have beautiful monitors. They're not 4K monitors, but I did try to load a 4K video, and my internet had a really, really hard time even trying to load this 4K video. It took a really long time. 1080p videos, 60 frames load perfectly fine, so I'm right at that threshold where 1080p is fine, but then I try to move over to 4K, and it just, it breaks your computer pretty much. And that leads me to believe just like the world is not ready for 4K yet. Our infrastructures aren't there. As far as internet streaming, Netflix and everything like that, and just 4K is not as huge of a deal yet. And again, I don't think Sony needed a press conference to talk about what they did talk about. Sony got on stage and talked X's and O's about, you know, HDR and 4K, lots of buzzwords and everything, and I feel like that wasn't necessary, and that kind of ruined Sony's momentum going into the holidays almost, because now they have the PS4 Slim, which is taking place of the original PS4, and now we have the PS4 Pro for $100 more at, I think it comes in at $400, and that's going to confuse the average consumer. Obviously not us gamers and everything. We're going to know what the PS4 Slim is, the PS4 Pro, the PSVR and everything. We're going to know how that all works, but to the average consumer going into the stores, they're going to look at all the PlayStations and they're going to be like, if they're all the same, I'm just going to take this cheapest one because what does it matter? And that person's not going to have a 4K TV. Now, the PS4 Pro will benefit the average person playing on a 1080p TV. You'll have better resolutions, you'll have better textures. The most important thing, you're going to have better frame rates. But to the average person, again, that's not really going to matter. They're going to opt for the PS4 Slim, which, let's talk about the design real quick. The design of the PS4 Slim is okay. The PS4 Pro just seems really obnoxious and really uninspired to me. I am still a huge, huge fan of the original PS4, and I'm a fan of the original Xbox One too. I think Microsoft did a better transition with the Xbox One S, and I think the Xbox One S looks a lot better than this PS4 Pro does, but that's besides the point. Over the past few years, I'm noticing that the gaming industry, the developers, the manufacturers, and even the gaming crowd in general, we're having a really hard time. It's a growing pain. It's a very weird console generation where you're going to see manufacturers, unfortunately for us, take more of a model like cell phone developers, where they're going to be coming out with these systems every couple of years, very minimal upgrades, you know, resolution upgrades and stuff like that. And it kind of sucks for us. This thing up-reses 4K. It's not going to be a true dedicated 4K machine, because you can't make a 4K machine for $400, or I would have totally already been on top of that and made a 4K gaming computer. But it's going to up-res the 4K. You're going to see better textures, better graphics, probably better performance on more AAA games. It does do HDR as well, which I'm more excited for the HDR than I am for the 4K resolutions, because HDR makes the picture look more realistic. So when you're inside and you're in a dark room or something, and you're looking outside, maybe in Days Gone or something, the lighting coming inside is going to look more realistic, and your eyeballs are going to process that as more of a realistic looking sunlight than a typical screen would be, because the blacks are going to be blacker, and then the light is going to be a lot brighter. It's more realistic, and I'm more excited for that, because that's going to be implemented on every PS4 to ever have been manufactured. They're going to do a system update, and then every PS4 is going to be able to do HDR. Now, another thing, a lot of people don't own HDR TVs, but I do game on monitors, and a lot of monitors coming out now are HDR compatible, and they're going to look beautiful because these 1080p HDR monitors are pretty decently priced. And I got a 27-inch Asus. That's a pretty decent price for only like $200. And if I can game on that and get HDR out of that, I'm going to be satisfied. I don't need to go out and buy a brand new console for that. So that's a very exciting update. And at this point, on paper, the Xbox One S almost looks like a better option at this point because it does play your 4K Blu-rays. So the new PS4 Pro does not play 4K Blu-rays, which is like a mind-blowing thing. But I do get that. Keep the 4K Blu-ray drive out of the system and make it cheaper for everybody, because streaming is how the majority of people consume their media content anyway. So 4K Netflix is already going to be there. You're going to have your 4K Amazon Video or whatever they have as well. Again, it's a very niche system, but I think it's just they're trying to position themselves, and it's a knee-jerk reaction to the Xbox One S. And I think the Xbox One S did it a little better. There's just not much incentive for the PS4 Pro unless you are going into virtual reality, and I think the VR is going to be very interesting, and I think it's going to play a lot better on the Pro. It's going to really benefit from the updated horsepower. But again, it comes down to the games, and I don't see PSVR coming out with very many good games. Where the virtual reality shines in my eyes, especially with the Vive and the Oculus Rift, it is the indie games that is a different twist on gaming. And it's not just the AAA games with your shooters and you go explosions everywhere and you're running through the streets. It's more the indie games like Space Invader, and the more niche games I think really benefit more from the VR because it's so much cooler of an experience than the AAA games are. And the AAA games honestly need way more horsepower than the PS4 can deliver to deliver true virtual reality. But just to wrap things up here, guys, the PS4 Pro was really kind of a letdown because of the way they hyped things up. They really shouldn't have hyped up the conference like they did. They shouldn't have flown people out. They should have just released a press statement, or they should have maybe even revealed it at E3, but who knows. And again, it doesn't really seem like they should be wasting their time and resources on making this new system when it doesn't really seem like that many developers are on board. They should be really trying to pump out some games for the PS4 instead of trying to come out with this new PS4 system that they're going to have no games running for. So, I mean, that's something to think about as well. But let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about this whole thing. I mean, it makes sense. It's just not what we thought it was. Leave a like if you do enjoy the video. Keep it tuned right here, guys. I will have more gameplay videos up this coming Monday because I'm going to have off this weekend. Until then, take it easy, y'all. YouTube, this is Krump here again today, and I want to talk about my final impressions, the good and the bad of the Battlefield 1 beta, and what I think they really need to polish up before the game